Hey there, it's Kristen, and I just wanted to let you know I'm going to be hosting and leading a 64-day challenge that is called Crossing the Great Stream. It's based on the I Ching Hexagrams, and we're going to be studying one hexagram at a time from January 1st to March 4th. I hope you can join me in this challenge. It is free and anyone can participate. I'm going to be sharing on Instagram and here on YouTube as well. So I'd love to see how you're studying each hexagram, your process, your tools, your techniques, your books, your resources, whatever it is that you're using. So just make sure that you're following me on Instagram so you can see my posts, and also subscribe to me here so you can see my videos. Now, if you want to go a little bit deeper, I will also be offering a study space for $15. And with that, you'll get access to additional resources, some live sessions. I'll be kind of answering questions there if you have questions. And that will be hosted through Kyla Givham's Life Alchemy Academy. So if you want like a little bit extra, I would join there. I'll also kind of be sharing probably a lot more of my insights over there. So I'll be like posting articles. We do have a kickoff event and a finale event that's scheduled through Zoom. You will be able to get some extra resources like this worksheet that I've developed for studying. You'll also get access to this printable deck that I made, which is the trigram, so you can combine them to form the hexagrams for your study. And there's also going to be a discount in that study space for my class Deconstructing the I Ching. We've already done the live sessions, but you'll be able to access the replays and all the other information that's in that classroom with your discount code once you join this classroom or this study space. So I wanted to just show you a few things that you'll get like access to in that study space, and also just show you kind of what I'm doing, how I'm working with all of this. First, I want to show you some books. So I would say you can really use whatever books you like. I'm really just studying the overall hexagram. Like, what is the energy of the hexagram? What does it relate to? These are some books that I enjoy. I will link all of the books below. I would say these two are probably ones I'm using a little bit more. I think these are a little bit more advanced, more for intermediate or advanced study. But these two, I think Benebell's is a little advanced just because Benebell always writes stuff at a level that is, to me, always advanced, which is what I love about her writing. It's very comprehensive. But I like the commentary in these two. I think is good, particularly for someone who might just be entering the I Ching and wanting to know more. There's a lot of historical commentary and reference in these two. So again, I'll link all the books. Now, one of the things that I'm putting into the classroom is this study worksheet. So I'm just going to show you I'm going to go through it really quickly so you'll see what I've included. This is my study worksheet. You don't have to like use all of the parts of it, but this is the study worksheet that I'll be using. And so by the end, I'll have like 64 pages of this, and it'll just be a way for me to reference really quickly with my insights. So let's just say we're going to start with hexagram 1, which is known as the creative. So you put whatever name, title you might associate with that hexagram. Lots of books have, if you read several books, you might find there are several titles. This would be a great place to put all the titles so you can figure out, what does this hexagram really mean? What is its base energy? Here's something that I'll be doing. I want to find out the decimal number. So that is each hexagram can be translated into a binary number. So I'll probably discuss that in the study space a little bit more, but each hexagram can be converted to a binary number. And so I'm using just a binary to decimal converter. And I also have like my resource list in the study space too. That's the good reason for joining the study space. But this decimal number is actually 63, which breaks down to the number 9, reduces to 9. So if you studied numerology, you know that 9 is the highest number. There's nothing higher than 9. And so I just think I personally want to see from a numerology standpoint, what does each hexagram relate to? Because I feel like there is more meaning here. There's more symbolic meaning here. And yeah, I studied the I Ching as a diviner. I study it as an oracle because that's really my background. And so for me, each hexagram I'm looking at through the lens of divination. I'm looking at it through the lens of symbolism as opposed to philosophy. So time period is another thing that I'm really wanting to study. The source that I use puts this one at June 15th through June 21st. And one thing that I realize is that the I Ching is a calendar. So if you understand the time period of each hexagram, it will also help you to understand the energy of that hexagram. And then I'm just going to go through and make my lines. So for hexagram 1, we have all yang lines. The primary trigrams, I do like to do a trigram breakdown. I think, at least for me, that has been the easiest way to really enter the I Ching and understand it a little bit better. And then kind of going from that perspective into understanding it in a broader way. So the nuclear trigrams, if you don't know what those are, again, join the study space. So we'll talk about that. I'll be kind of introducing at least all the concepts that I'm working with on this worksheet, which also includes these arrows. We covered these arrows in deconstructing the I Ching, but I'll go over them in the study space and give you the link for like where I got this. So this is the directional energy of these trigrams. And then this section, I'm going to talk about the key metaphors and symbols. So for example, the dragon is really a key symbol, which represents creative power. The sun, we've got the solar power. We've got this drying energy. The sun is used to grow plants. And so a lot of this information is going to come from the title, like a glossary. And I've been using this book, which I really have enjoyed. And so it gives you, for each hexagram, it goes through the translation, the literal translation, and then you have a glossary here in the back so you can find out. You don't have to take their word for it. You can look up these words and figure out, and just see a glossary of the terms, which I find really helpful because when I study things, I really want to study them from my perspective as opposed to someone else's perspective. And so just, understanding from here, I might I might put some different things in here. So I know this one also has some meanings around spirit, forward motion, rulership, activation, vigorous is another word, and also to clear away. And I found some of those in Stephen Karcher's book. This is one of his older books, The Elements of the I Ching. But I really like it. He describes an ideogram. I always find with that, you've got to kind of see a couple of different sources to help you understand the ideogram or the picture or of the character. So, but this is a kind of a nice summary of each hexagram. And then here, I'm not going to put these in, but I'll do like a summary once I've studied it and just kind of get a sense of like what is the overall energy of this hexagram. And then here I'll put in the core guidance. And so I really look at the middle bigram to get some of the core guidance, but I can also get some of the core guidance from this information as well. So I'll just kind of put some keywords and some bullet points here in terms of what is this, if this hexagram shows up, what's its overall guidance. And so that is the worksheet. As I said, if you want to get this worksheet, it will be in the study space. This is the trigram deck. It's the Color Your Own I Ching trigram deck, and I say color your own because this is my color version. I colored this with pastels, and I really like how it came out. I always say to make 2 copies so that you'll be able to make any hexagram. And the way that you're going to use these is just have keep the writing on the right side so that the trigrams will be in, upright. And like I said, you can color them, you can leave them black and white. But I think this is a great way to study, especially if you're not really already familiar with the trigrams. Excuse me, when you make your hexagram, you have to see the trigrams. And so this will give you hopefully another entry point into understanding the hexagrams. Like I said, especially if you haven't really been working with them just on a trigram basis. And so I think there is a lot of ways to study, like to make studying fun and interesting. So I'll go through a couple of those things that might be great ideas for you. The first thing is to create some art. So I know that I'm followed by a lot of artists and people who are really creative and crafty and do all different types of visual art. So that's one way to study a hexagram, is just to make some kind of art. My art is typically done digitally. These are just some images that I made using Microsoft Image Creator, which is an AI text-to-image generator. It actually does a whole bunch of different, it's an AI suite. So it's been really helpful for me to make images, because really if you take all the information, you can synthesize it into an image. I always think that helps me in learning. So whether you want to paint something or whether you want to collage something, turning each hexagram into art, I think is a really great idea. So these are just some of the ones. This is 49 Revolution. This one is Biting Through. This one is The Cauldron. This one is sometimes just Wind or Gentle Influence, hexagram 57, which is Wind over Wind. So again, thinking about like the trigrams, what would those energies look like merged together, or coming up with like a completely different visualization for that hexagram. I always think that's a really great idea. And also, if you like to write, you could write poetry or, something along those lines for each hexagram. If you know me, then you know I've already made an oracle deck. So basically taking these same images that I was making and just turning them into an oracle deck, because for me, making an oracle deck is the best way for me to synthesize my learning, because you've got to take all the information that you learned and kind of pull it into one image and one keyword. I mean, that to me says you have figured it out. You've learned it if you can do that. And so it's been a challenge. I kind of started on this just doing a couple, and then I got a little obsessed and I just kept going. But I'm still going to go back and review each of these, because I've already made some changes on some of these already, just because I felt like as I kept researching, I felt like there was another image or word that worked a little bit better. So make an oracle deck. It doesn't have to look like this. It could just be keywords, because there are so many different titles for each hexagram. I think just figuring out what words work best would be a great start. And next, I know that many of you already study things like tarot. So I think tarot is a really great tool to use as a study tool. Thinking about doing a comparative tarot study. So for each hexagram, what tarot card do you think matches it? What do you think is a representation in the tarot? So to me, hexagram 37, the family, really matches up well with these two cards, 10 of Cups and 10 of Pentacles. So I think that's a really great start. Take something you already know pretty well, and then see if you can make comparisons to the hexagrams. And then one of the things that we'll be doing in the study space, I know Kyla Givehand, who's the host of the whole Life Alchemy Academy, it's her academy, she will be looking at these hexagrams as gates of human design. And so I'll probably do a little bit of that looking, just because I've only done a little bit of study with human design, but I really find it a fascinating system. So I'll be doing a little bit of comparing and understanding from that perspective. This is a book that I really like. It's based on the Quantum Activation Cards by Karen Curry Parker. This is like the book that goes with it. But I do find that when I pull a hexagram, if I read like the challenge and the unbalanced expression, it really gives me a lot to think on. So I'll probably be kind of adding this into my studies to help me understand the hexagrams. And if you are a student of human design and you're already familiar with the Rave Mandala, or in this case it's called the hexagram wheel, this is from the book The Blue I Ching by 64 Keys. And again, I'll put the link down there. It is a completely free PDF version. It goes through all of the gates and the lines as well. So for those of you who don't know, in human design really is based on hexagrams. So all of these gates in human design are called gates. Those are hexagrams. And I think that learning more about the hexagrams from the I Ching perspective may help you to put some more perspective to the human design gates. For example, figuring out which gates relate to which centers and what do they have in common. Basically just looking at patterns. You see these are different quarters What do all of these hexagrams have in common? What do all these hexagrams have in common? So I think there's lots of ways to look at this from a human design perspective, particularly if you just kind of get this chart out. As I said before, the I Ching is a calendar, which we can see based on human design, because it's already set up like an astrological wheel. So again, if you are, I don't think you have to be new to human design. I think some of this might still be informative, even if you've been studying human design for a while. And just getting a different kind of perspective, looking through the lens of the I Ching and comparing it with human design or with gene keys. So hopefully this gives you some ideas for just posting and sharing throughout this challenge. Like I said, I hope that you'll join me in some way, in whatever way feels like comfortable for you. You can share, again, your books, your resources. I always want to know what people are using for studying. And I would love for you to join me in the study space if you really want to go a little bit deeper and learn a little bit more. We can all just be learning together in that space. So I will start posting some YouTube videos probably the last week of December, just to kind of get everyone started into the challenge. And like I said, I hope you'll join me.